Back. Now we will talk about Fibonacci sequence. Before we start about writing C program for Fibonacci sequence, let's understand what is meant by this Fibonacci sequence. In Fibonacci sequence, the third term is the sum of previous two terms. Right? So it is a sequence. It is a sequence of numbers such that a term is addition of its previous two terms. Now first two terms are fixed, that is 0 and 1. First two terms of the Fibonacci sequence are 0, that is fixed. Two terms are fixed, that is 0 and 1, and the next term is calculated. How the next term is calculated? So next term is equal to previous addition of previous two terms. So let's say term 1 plus term 2, term 1 plus term 2. So this is nothing but the third term. So now as per this, what should be my Fibonacci sequence? See here, first number is 0, second number is 1, first two numbers are fixed, third number will be the addition of previous two. So addition of 0 and 1 is 1, that is what the next term. Then what should be the next term? Addition of previous two terms. So what previous two terms we have now? 1 and 1. So next term will be 2. What will be the next term? 1 plus 2, that is 3. What should be the next term? 2 plus 3, that is 5. What should be the next term? 3 plus 5, 8. What should be the next term? 5 plus 8, that is 13, and so on. This is nothing but a Fibonacci sequence. Is this clear? Okay. So while writing a logic, creating a logic, what the problem statement is? We have to print what? First n terms. Now how many terms or how many Fibonacci sequence terms we are going to get? Up to n terms, I don't know. For example, if I give 10 as n, so if my n is equal to 10, in that case how many terms should get displayed? See here, these are, let's say, 5 plus 3, so 5 plus 3 is 8 term. Two more terms we need. Okay, so what should be the next term? 8 plus 13, 21. 21 plus 13, 34, right? So that should be the answer. That is first 10 terms. That should be the answer. Question is clear to everyone? Okay, fine. Now if n equal to 10 is given, what we have to print? First two terms are fixed. So what we are going to do? Int, we will declare first term as t1, second term as t2, then next term as next next t. Okay, first term, second term, next term as t. Now we can use any loop. So here we will be using while loop, or we may use for loop, right? So let's go for the for loop. So for loop I need a counter variable, so I took I. Okay. Now after this, see here, t1 equal to 0. Why t1 equal to 0? Because we know the first term in Fibonacci sequence is 0. Then after that, t2 is equal to what? 1. Why? Because I know second term is in the Fibonacci sequence is 1. So first two terms are clear. Okay. I also know the third term. So what is third term? See here, next term is equal to, next t is equal to what? t1 plus t2. So what is in t1? 0. What is in t2? 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So in next term what we got? 1. Now we will ask user how many terms you want to print. So printf, in short I am writing pf. We will ask user enter n. That means what is n here? The number of terms user want to print. Is this clear? How many number user want to print? So user has given it, right? So what we will do? We will first print first two terms. So how to print first two terms? %d, comma, the terms are coming from T1 and T2. Because we know first two terms are 0 and 1. So that two terms we have printed. Now we have to print from next term, that is addition of previous two terms, right? So what we will do now, we will go for loop for I equal to, see how many terms we have already printed. Two terms we have already printed by using this print statement. See here, by using this print statement, two terms we have already printed. Now which number term we have to print? Third number. 1 and 2 हो गया ना, तो next number क्या है? Third number. So third number, so I is equal to 3 because we want third number term. Then I less than equal to the number that is given by the user because we want that number of terms, okay, and then I plus plus. Is this clear? Now what logic we need here? The first thing that we are going to do is print the value of next term. That is what we have already calculated here. See here, next term is equal to t1 plus t2, right? So what we will do, we will print printf, printf. What we will print? %d, we will leave one space at the beginning, then comma next term, next, next t. So what we did here, we have printed the next term. So in output, what actually we got? 0, 1, 1. What actually we will got here? See, here itself the output will be 0, 1. And now here we will get 1 as printed because it is addition of 0 and 1. Right? So in output window we will get 0, 1 and 1. Now listen carefully. The number that we have, that is 0, 1, 1. So see here, this was my T1, this was my T2, right? Everyone is able to see this? This one was my T1 and this was T2 and this is what my next term. Now listen carefully. This T2 should become now my T1, term 1. This next term should become my T2 and my next term should become what? T1 plus T2. So what I am going to do, I am going to use that logic. क्या करना है? सिर्फ शिफ्ट करना है ना? शिफ्ट करना है T1 and T2. I got now T3. So T1 यहाँ पे ले लो, T2 यहाँ पे ले लो, and T3 is addition of that two numbers, right? So that is what we are going to do. Now see here, T1 is equal to 0, T2 was equal to 1, and next term was equal to T1 plus T2, that is 1, right? Now हमें क्या करना है? What we have to do? T1 should be now my T2, so T1 should be equal to T2. तो T1 में क्या आ जाएगा अभी? 1. T1 में क्या आ जाएगा? 1. Now T2 को हम अपडेट करेंगे. T2 is equal to what? Next term. So next T. Let me write here next T as it is. So next capital T. Okay. So next T is what? 1. Right? So see here. T1 we got 1. Next T we got as again 1. Okay. Now what should be new term? That is next term. See here. Next T should be equal to what? T1 plus T2. अभी देखो, what is there in T1? 1. What is there in T2? 1. So 1 plus 1? 2. So next T will be 2. Is this clear? After first iteration, this should happen. So in my code, after printing the value of next T, what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this logic. I'm going to use this logic. So this is what I'm now going to print here. Is this clear to everyone? This logic? So T1, whatever was my previous T2, that is going to become my T1 now. What is my next? That is going to become now my T2. Okay. And now my next is nothing but addition of that new T1 and T2. Alright. Once these values are calculated, I have to print next term only. Because 0, 1, 1 is already printed. I have to print 2. So then my loop will again restart. What it will do? It will increase the value of I by 1. It is going to become 4. And it will print the value of next term, that is 2. So here we will get at next term, next iteration 2 as output. Now see here. See here. My next term is changed. Okay. Now again the value of T1 will be changed. That is going to become updated value of T2. So what was there in T2? 1. So that is going in 1 now. What was there in next T? 2. That will go in now T2. So 1 and 2. that will get addition, and next t will become 1 plus 2, that is 3. So next t will be 3. And here when loop will again start, जब फिर से शुरू होगा loop, iteration फिर से होगा, at that time what will happen? The next t value, which is 3, will be printed here, and we will get 3 here. We will get 3 here. In the same way, the program will proceed and we will get a Fibonacci sequence. That is what the logic is. Okay. Now, in just 3-4 minutes, I will type the code and I will show you how actually the values of the variable changes. Okay. So, let's begin for the demo. As per our practice, we will use hash include stdio.h and hash include conio.h. Okay. Now, I already told you that I'm using advanced version of Turbo C++. There is no need for me to include the header files. So, I'm not wasting my time. Okay. If you are getting prototype error, then in that case, you have to include the header files. Okay. So, I'm directly writing void main. Okay. Then bracket. See, at the beginning itself, try to give both the curly brackets, opening and closing bracket for the main function. Okay. Now, initially we declare the variables. So, in the same way, we will declare the variables. How many variables we need? N to accept number from user, then term 1, then term 2, then next term, next term, and then a counter variable for I. So that many variables I need. So let's give the semicolon at the end. Okay. Now we will ask user to please enter a term, but before that we will assign the values of t1 and t2. Why? Because we know first term is 0, second term is 1. So t1 equal to 0, then t2 is equal to 1, and then next term is equal to t1 plus t2. Okay, t1 plus t2. Now we will ask user, please enter what? The number. So enter number. So user will print the number. User will give us the number up to which he wants us to print the Fibonacci sequence. The number of terms in the Fibonacci sequence. That is what the num contains, n contains. So scanf, we have to specify what? Format specifier of that variable and then at an address of n. So that is what is accepted. Okay. Now let's print the Fibonacci sequence. So we give first message to the user. Now this is your Fibonacci sequence. So this is terms in sequence. Okay. So what I did, this is %d terms in the Fibonacci sequence. Now at the place of this %d, what I want? The value of n, because I want n terms. I don't know what is n, so that's why I'm printing there %d and I'm giving the content, I'm giving the variable name. So what will happen at the place of this n, at the place of this %d, the content of variable n will be placed. So if user is asking us 10 terms, then 10 term will be printed. So what will be the message? This is 10 terms in Fibonacci sequence. If user is giving 15, then what it will print? This is 15 terms in Fibonacci sequence. Okay. Now what we have to do? We have to first print what? First two terms. So print f. So how to print first two terms? %d, comma t1, comma t2. So first two terms will get printed. Everyone, first two terms will get printed. Now after this we have to print. After this we have to print the remaining terms. First two is done. We have to start from third to n. So we will use for loop for I equal to 3, I less than equal to n, less than equal to n, and then I plus plus. And then opening and closing bracket for this for loop. Now here we have to use the same logic that we have used. That is, now my next term I have to print, and then I have to update the value of term 1 and term 2 because they are going to shift. They are going to shift to calculate the new term, right? So here I will print the value of next term. So print %d, comma next term. So next term will be printed, and after that t1 equal to t2, then T2 is equal to next term, and now the next term that we have to calculate is as next term is equal to T1 plus T2. And at the end, what I'm doing at the end, I'm just putting get ch. My program is over. Okay, now let's run our program and let's see the output. So I said F9, everything is okay, no any syntax error, no any syntax or warning. Control F9. See here, it is asking me enter number at the end. See there, I will give 10 and it has given me the Fibonacci sequence. But before that, it has given some garbage, right? So what is required? CLR SCR. So before any print statement, I will put here CLR SCR and I will run code again. I will save my file F2, control F9. Now previous garbage is over, cleared from the screen. I am giving input as 10. So first, this is 10 terms in Fibonacci sequence. So we got up to 34. That is what we have also seen in example, right? Now again, I will run this, control F9. I want 15 terms. So that is a 15 terms in the Fibonacci sequence. Is this clear to everyone? How to find a Fibonacci sequence?